something that starts way before being successful, being rich, all these sorts of things. Something extremely, much more important that I've noticed is the question of respect. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about this subject because I see a lot of people that are, you could say, semi-successful, more successful than me, of course. They make more money. I'm a part of a couple of different groups, environments, and so on. And the common denominator that I've noticed is that most of these guys actually aren't people that I actually respect, because they've traded in their personal values. They've traded in their friends, their family, their time with other people, their meaningful connections with others, and their soul for money and for riches and for success. And so I thought that was quite sad, because they are the exact justification, the exact embodiment, definition of the ends justify the means. But when you get to that point, sometimes you'll feel like, was it really worth it? Like, I look at these people, like, I think about them, and I think to myself, was it really worth it? Did all the stuff that you went through in order to get that, was that actually worth it? And personally for me, I would have not done that at all. Like, I don't think you should trade in your personal values, the people you love, sacrifice meaningful connections, good times, in order to just fully focus on cheating your way up to the top as much as you can. Like, basically being a what other people think rich people are, which is, they think like, oh, this guy's a scumbag, he's made a bunch of money, he's just stolen it from other people, he just scammed a bunch of people, he robbed, stole, cheated, pretty much, yeah. And you need to think for yourself. Do I want to be known as the guy who's rich, successful, and respected by others? Or do I want to be the guy who's just rich and successful? Because those are two different, very different things. Now, as you might be hearing right now, I'm a bit sick. For some fucking stupid reason, karma has decided, whenever I said 2 days ago that I had not been sick for over a year, to curb my ego and to tell me, you know what, shut the fuck up, bro. So it's not stopped me from working, but it has impacted my performance just a little bit. Got a something in the sinuses up here. Like, my entire body's fine. It's really just here in my face, which is fucking annoying, but I gotta just deal with it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I'll keep posting every single day, which is what I've been doing for the past couple months. So what I wanted to focus on today is talk about the question of respect over success. Because yes, it's good to be successful, but at the end of the day, if nobody respects you, was it really worth it? Was it really worth it? Because you see these people, and a lot of people say being rich isn't gonna make you happy. That's not entirely true. 1 second. Just blew my nose off camera so you don't have to hear that shit. Okay. So, people say being rich doesn't necessarily bring happiness. Being rich isn't what's gonna make you happy. Well, I agree, but I also disagree. Let me explain why. When you're rich, you can do more things. You have more options at your disposal, you have more resources, you have more wealth, you have more options, you have more things that you can do. And compared to when you don't have the money, because money is just basically energy and time of other people condensed into a number. So I think what people mean when they say happiness isn't what you're going to get when you get rich, or being rich isn't what's going to make you happy, they mean getting rich quick, or getting rich at the cost of everything else isn't what's going to make you happy. Because, and this is very true, because if you decide to be rich at the cost of everything, you sacrifice everything, your personal values, your core beliefs, your friends, your family, your loved ones, if you sacrifice everything in order to be rich and go all in on like being a degenerate, I don't know, if you want to gamble, if you want to blow it on drugs and escorts, whatever you want, right? Get to that stage. And do you actually want that? Because when you actually think about it, those types of people are the people that lack the most amount of respect from anybody on the planet. Yes, they have the money, yes, they have the riches, but do they get respected from other people? Not really. On the other hand, a guy who is a self-made billionaire, who is like super on par with his values, everything's stable, everything's intact, he's a good person, he's gonna get far more respect than those types of rich people. Which makes you think, what kind of rich person do I want to be, right? Give me a sec. Yes, in fact, I am dying, but who cares? So, you need to start thinking for yourself. How can I become respected before successful? This is what I've been focusing on so far. I've been focusing more so on building my character. And the money is just on the back end, right? It's just like what's gonna push me upward more. It's gonna amplify my character. Because I heard somebody say this, it was a very interesting thing to say, that I do think it's a very good thing to think about for everybody that is listening to this video, is that you should be careful of when you get the money, because money is an amplifier. It is not a boost, it is not an improvement, it is an amplifier. What does that mean? It means that if you are a bad person and you get a bunch of money, you're going to become a worse person because you think you deserve more because you have the money. Same thing if you're a really good guy. If you're a good guy and you have a bunch of money, you'll be an even greater guy because you have more options at your disposal, right? So, in that case, you need to be careful how you get rich and how quickly and how big you make it early on in life, because it can very easily completely change the course of your life. If you're a 20-year-old guy and you one day you just put something together and you start making like millions of dollars the next day, you're not really going to know what to do with that. So then you could go down a lot of different paths very quickly. This is what happens to a lot of athletes, professional athletes that make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then when they get out of their prime, they blow it all on something else, and they lose all their money. So you need to think for yourself, what kind of person are you going to be when you're going to be rich? Because if you're just going to be the current you, but with money, fuck. Are you just going to be the current you with money, or are you going to be somebody more? Are you going to be a better character? Or are you going to be a more stable person? Are you going to have integrity? Are you going to have personal values? Are you going to have, what are you going to have? And this is what you need to think about, all right? Because if you don't, let me tell you this, if you don't, if you get rich with your current values, you're basically saying, I'm okay with the person I am now having a bunch of money. No lessons, no hard lessons, no thoughts, no character, no experience, just money. Do you really think you would make good decisions with that money? Do you actually think? Have you actually thought it through? Because most people don't. Let me tell you. I gave you the example of professional athletes. That is not the only thing. It's like rappers, musicians, artists. Somebody that just makes a bunch of money like this, and then the next day disappears. You need to be careful. You need to be aware of how to use that more efficiently. Because if you don't, you're just going to end up wasting it away. So, by first focusing on building your character, you get to develop those habits, to develop that mindset that allows you to be like, okay, I'm not just going to blow all my money on whatever the fuck. I'm going to build a very smart system thanks to that money in order to keep getting more. Otherwise, I'm going to just end up back at the bottom and I want to fucking start over, which is not what I want to do. So it really depends on what you want to do. So you got to decide for yourself. I'm not making this video so that you can, so I can show you what to do. I'm not making this video so that you know what to do. I'm talking to you in this video because I want to tell you what is about to happen, what is bound to happen if you don't face that head on. And being successful doesn't necessarily mean you have a bunch of money, okay? You could be a very successful person because success is just a personal definition. Some people define it by the amount of money you make. Some people define it by the amount of women you have. Some people define it by the amount of kids you have. Some people define it by how physically athletic you look. It doesn't really matter. What the point is, you should always focus on being the best guy for the job before acquiring the job. And by then acquiring the job, you can then make mistakes and learn from your mistakes. But the most important part is to get at least, I'd say, I like the 80-20 rule, which is basically I get 80% of the way there, and then I'm like, okay, how can I make it better? Think to myself, ask people some questions, refine it, get 80% of the way there, and then, okay, I'm going to test it, see how it goes, and then from that test, I'm going to gather some data, and then thanks to the data, I'm just going to do that again. So that way it allows me to test things very quickly. So that's very important, speed. Otherwise, you're going to end up in a very tough position. I know a couple people who've done this, and they're not living very interesting lives today. They might be more rich than I am, but they live a very boring life. It's basically like if you gave a guy in his 50s a bunch of money out of nowhere. And he didn't really know what to do with it. So he just started blowing it on drugs, on this, on like escorts, on like whatever, you know, just literally everything, just gambling, blah blah blah, blah blah blah. It's very easy to fucking lose everything, okay? So be grateful for what you have right now. and understand that you need to upgrade your character, because money amplifies who you are. So if you're a great guy who has the respect of others already, you're gonna be an even greater guy. That's all I wanted to say for today. I want to make a bit of a shorter video because I feel like shit right now. So I get to prioritize more of my my health. I'm focusing more on my recovery for today. But I'm still gonna get some work done, because if I don't, nothing's gonna get done. So it's time to get back to work. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you don't just get rich out of nowhere, or like get rich quick at the cost of who you are, at the cost of your personal values. Like, if you have integrity, if you're proud of who you are, where you come from, don't just sacrifice that for just more money. Like, I wouldn't recommend it. You're not going to be very satisfied. And so be grateful for what you have right now. Be grateful for who you are, and be dissatisfied in order to always get more. And with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I will see you tomorrow in the next video, as I post every single day. Beautiful day. Even if I'm sick, it doesn't matter. Time to get back to work. See ya.